300 North Beeline Highway, inside Walmart, and their number is 602-433-7000.
And a big thank you to Desert Financial Credit Union for sponsoring our KRIM Community Spotlight program. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. A little cloudy out there this morning. Some clouds in the sky, but I think a very, very, very small chance of rain. But still a nice day, whether it's cloudy, sunny. We're just so blessed to be up here in Rim Country. It is beautiful, I think, every day of the year. Well, joining us this morning in the studio is Hoyt Skabelund, CEO of Banner Payson Medical Center. Good morning, Hoyt.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to chatting with you today.
Yeah, look forward to getting some updates about what's happening at Banner Payson Medical Center. But first, I would love to talk to you about the Keep Payson Clean event, Just Serve, that happened last Saturday. That was amazing.
That was amazing. Thank you for coming. You and I happened to be at the event center location and ran into each other cleaning up the forest, and we were tickled that you came as the mayor, and that means a lot to us. But 160, I think there was over 160 if we include the efforts of those at Chaparral Pines and the Lions Club along the 260. They did some amazing work. Probably 40 blue bags you may have seen along the highway.
Wow.
40 bags, and they looked like a dump truck tire, one of those.
Big,
massive tire. I'm not sure how far they had to drag that, but
wow.
And that was a bonus that we weren't expecting, and they added on their efforts at Granite Dells with the Forest Service removing the 2 abandoned RVs. That was completed in less than 2 hours.
Wow.
Unbelievable. 20 folks showed up, sawzalls, the Forest Service had a dump trailer, etc. And Dave Carter, a nurse at the hospital, he led that initiative side by side with Matt Purzik from the Forest Service, and that was exceeded expectations. At Houston Mesa Campground, they had roughly 30 folks show up. They not only were able to paint the amphitheater, clean it, sweep it, they were able to do a lot of trail brushing, and so we accomplished more at Houston Mesa Campground than was expected. So two exceeds on that. And at the event center, there's just so much. But we cleaned up along the roadway as you turn off of the 87 to go to the rodeo grounds with the volunteers. There were about 40 plus that came, and the first couple that showed up, the gentleman shared that he was over 80, retired police officer from out of state, and their first words were, "We can only stay for 2 hours, is that okay?" We were like, "Oh, you can stay for 1 hour, we'll be tickled."
Yeah.
And she was cleaning rapidly one area, and he and I cleaned up an old abandoned homeless site, and just amazing. So we got a lot done. There's a lot of work to be done in that area, in that location. There was a semi-sized dumpster, and we filled a roll-off. We filled a third of that, and that was with 50 folks in 3 hours, and we made huge progress. And then behind Bashas' and Walmart, there were groups of 20 plus volunteers on each of those sites, and amazing work there. Still work to be done there. So we're excited and grateful. And then many gathered between 1 and 3 o'clock out at the Green Valley Park, and the sponsors of Keep Payson Clean donated food and gift cards, and there was a little celebration there at that event. So we're excited about Keep Payson Clean meeting every third Saturday. Anywhere you clean up in your neighborhood, and then if you leave bags out along the roadside, and you can learn more at the Facebook site. And Jesse's an amazing individual who created the whole Keep Payson Clean initiative.
Jesse Berry, and the Facebook page Keep Payson Clean. You can see when the next event is, get updates. Like you said, if you're picking up in your neighborhood and putting the bags out so they can be collected. The next event is when?
So the third Saturday of October.
Third Saturday, that's right.
And that's at whatever time you want, essentially. But I would go into that Facebook page and just read about it and see if you want to go to they do go to some key areas if you're willing. it is so much easier, like when you and I ran into each other, if there's something about synergy, when three of you are focused on one site, you can clean it up faster. I
Yes,
don't
yeah.
understand it exactly psychologically and physically, but when you're doing it alone, it's obviously slower. But
Yes.
I think that three combined get more done than three separate individuals would get done, and I don't quite understand it.
So that is the 21st of October, third Saturday of the month. And again, you can go to Keep Payson Clean, the Facebook page, or will it also regularly be on Just Serve?
Great point. It will regularly be on Just Serve, and to these 160 people that came, if you're listening, thank you. And we're hoping, and those are the type of people who look to serve. So Just Serve shows the food bank, the warming center, the thrift stores in town, any 501(c)(3) not-for-profit organization that needs volunteers. If you're one of those organization leaders and you're not listed on Just Serve, it is a free, intended to be a facilitating website to help those that want to serve to be able to make connections. And so Humane Society, et cetera, they're all out there. So yes, Keep Payson Clean will be on that website on an ongoing basis, and every third Saturday, hopefully for generations now. That's kind of long-term. We'll be able to make a dent and clean up public, obviously seen areas and unseen areas to make this even better place.
And that's justserve.org. You can check that out, or the Keep Payson Clean Facebook page. Yeah, it was great. What I love about the group, Jesse, everyone that helped put it together and is kind of coordinating this, it's about taking pride in our community and making a difference, getting out there and making a difference. Just seeing a need and doing something about it, because we care about our community, we want our community to be even better. And that's what everyone out there, I think that's just the main focus.
My personal experience was at hour 2.5. I'm 53. I'll be 54 October 21st, and my back started to hurt, my lower back, because you bend over. We did have some pickers in some sites, but I realized, wow, 2.5 hours. So the last 30 minutes was a little rougher than the first 2.5 hours. That's one way that it's good exercise, but I'm changed from it. I left feeling with a sense of satisfaction. There's something about giving with nothing in return that just feels good. And then the other was some of these sites we were cleaning up, you and I were cleaning up. These were homeless sites that had been abandoned, and clearly mental illness involved in some of these sites, just by the paraphernalia that was there, and so probably some behavioral health handicaps, and some drug addiction, certainly in some of those, and some of those are hand in hand, and I have some of those challenges in my family, and they're not, I think sometimes we're harsh when we judge others and we think, oh, they brought this on themselves, and there are those cases where we're all 2 or 3 really bad decisions away from being in the same place. I left the event center site committed to support the warming center and other support behavioral health, and it was just a humbling reminder that we are a community, and with that comes challenges that we don't choose and we would prefer not to have. They happen in most of our families. We have a connection somewhere within uncles, aunts, cousins, or even our own children or spouses, and so I thought that was an unexpected change in me, or an increase in me personally that came from that service. And I think those that probably cleaned up behind Bash's Walmart, you can't walk away not having a deeper understanding of some of the challenges we have in every community in America.
Oh, yeah, it's not just Payson. Not just Payson, that's for sure.
And some of these sites we cleaned up will have to be re-cleaned up, right? And that's demoralizing in a way, but I love Jesse's vision of Keep Payson Clean, is let's be the cleanest city in America, and we're not near that today. But I think we can be. And you mentioned the weather. This is my favorite time of year. September to December. Labor Day, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, lots of children events, lots of family events, and cooler weather. This is when my strawberries start to really grow. I've got strawberry patches that I protect from the javelina and the elk most of the time. this is when they come on and the weather's cooler, and what a great place. We live in a part of heaven. And let's treat it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is so true. Well, so some updates with Banner Payson Medical Center.
I've been looking forward to sharing today, just because in healthcare, in my job, many of the efforts that I'm responsible to lead have long lead times. When you recruit a physician, it's typically from let's recruit this specialty to actually having succeeded in the first patient being seen by that specialist. The shortest I've seen that is a year.
Wow.
And the typical time frame is 18 months to 24 months. And parts of that is there aren't enough physicians in the country to meet needs. And so you have to find physicians that are looking for a rural site. Well, most of us were not raised rurally because of the proportion of the population in the United States today is no longer rural-based, it's metropolitan-based. And so a lot of folks think, I would never live rurally. Even I'd love to visit there, but I would never live there. So we're searching for a small proportion of the total trained physicians. And then second is once we have to cycle through, interview, and select a candidate. That takes time. Promote the service, post the position, advertise. Once you have a candidate that's accepted your offer, now they have to typically give at least 3 months notice. It takes usually 3 to 4 months to become licensed in the state of Arizona. And then to become what's called credentialed with insurance companies, they become an approved, the insurance company will see them as an approved physician that they will pay claims for. It takes another 3 to 4 months.
Wow.
Some of this can be simultaneous.
Yeah.
And then usually doctors between jobs, they don't change jobs often, and so they'll usually take a couple months off in between. They gotta move their family, buy a house. It ends up being typically 18 months, frankly, by the time we're done. So with that said, I'm excited to share, as we've talked about in the past, Dr. Bruce Palmer, recently retired Air Force general surgeon, has moved to Payson, closed on a house. He and his wife, he texted me last night, we're here. So they're here. If you're listening, Dr. Palmer, we're excited. I think patients will love his demeanor. He will join Dr. Susan Horn and Dr. Lloyd Olson as general surgeons to complete our general surgery service line, allowing us to reduce the long wait times we've had. Patients that are needing a colonoscopy, a screening scope, or certain procedures, with only 2 surgeons when we need 3, it's led to long wait times. And so patients have chosen to go to the Valley because of timeliness. And Dr. Bruce Palmer restores us back to being fully staffed in that area, and wait times should be dramatically reduced over the next several months. For your convenience, the listeners' convenience, and we've got 3, they're all 3 very capable surgeons. They will each bring a different, each of them will have areas that they are expert at, where the others prefer not to do that type of work. And so it gives us a full complement of general surgeons. Very excited about Dr. Bruce Palmer.
Oh, that is great. And I wouldn't even, goodness, I never would have thought, with a doctor, a specialist, bringing someone in, the amount of time. That
discouraging at times. So when we have a doctor who moves away from Payson, when they announce that, usually gives 3 months notice, whether it's an independent practice, a Banner practice, it's devastating. And we have had a lot of turnover, and that's not uncommon in rural settings. Some doctors say, oh, I want to live here, this is heaven. They get here and either the spouse or family complication, or they're not used to not having subspecialists across the street that they can consult with or refer to. So there is a higher turnover rate, but we're committed to finding people who really want to be here and their eyes are wide open. Dr. Palmer practiced in Alaska.
Oh.
And loved it.
Quite rural.
Yeah. So when he had 2 choices: an Alaskan offer, an offer in Alaska, and an offer here in Payson, Arizona. And we were worried. He told us that he owned a home still in Alaska. So it was I think the culture of our clinics and the hospital, the need, proximity to the airport and Phoenix was our win. You can have the Alaskan feel
Yes.
with the Payson convenience, and so They bought a home already, and they've sold their home in Alaska. Dr. Palmer and his wife shared that they intend to finish their career here and retire here. And that's what we're looking for, another Dr. Munoz, another, with Dr. Palmer's skill set. And I think he has an amazing demeanor. I think his bedside manner staff, when you see him, if you visit him, if he sees you in the emergency department or in the hospital, or you come to see him in the clinic, I think you will, his manner and bedside manner fits Payson, and very humble, kind, engaging, and I think people are going to love him. And his skill set, 20 years in the Air Force doesn't retain you as a surgeon for 20 years if you are not top quality. So answer to prayer. And so he's here. His official start date is Monday, October 2nd. He does have an orientation period, and so, but I believe he'll be seeing patients in his first week, and certainly by mid-October should be seeing patients. So those that have been waiting or worried, you can call our Banner Medical Group and the General Surgery Clinic and schedule. That's easily found on Google Maps, online Google. Just put in General Surgery or Surgeon and Banner Medical Group, and you'll find a way to get there. So excited about him.
That's great news. Yeah.
Have another.
Oh, yes.
So Dr. Michael Manning, orthopedic surgeon, has accepted employment with Banner Medical Group starting also October 2nd. Wow. Now, Dr. Manning has been visiting Payson 1 week a month for the last year. He came to us as a locum tenens, that's L-O-C-U-M, locum tenens, T-E-N-E-N-S. That's a term used in the healthcare industry to describe visiting physicians who are paid to come on an interim basis. So when we lost Dr. Tawney, when Jason Tawney left us a year and a half ago, 18 months, that's that lead time, we were devastated. And so we began recruiting, and we needed to sustain our orthopedic practice. We do have Diane Scott, physician assistant, and we have Bobby Alexander, physician assistant, who are orthopedic specialists, who have not had any break in service, and they've been in our clinic seeing patients. We've had Dr. Dustin Sepich, who is a knee and hip joint specialist coming from the Valley, and he and his wife own a home here, and they spend almost every weekend here. Now he's spending 1 full week here.
Oh, wow.
To offer orthopedic surgeries. People love him. His skill's amazing. Again, he only does knee replacements and hip replacements, but he's exceptional. He does bariatric surgery in the Valley. So that's his very obese, heavy laden patients. To do a knee replacement on those patients is very challenging to have good outcomes because of the weight bearing in the hips. He is the go-to for bariatric hip and knee. So for normal weight individuals, he's exceptional. That seems easy to him, right? But he comes up, spends a whole week. And then we've had Dr. Neely, Ryan Neely, who does just total shoulders here in Payson. He's been doing visits, and so he visits 2 clinic days a month, so not quite the extent of Dr. Sepich. Dr. Manning joins that practice now permanently. He's been doing 1 week a month. He fell in love with the community. His wife's from Southern California, so she's a little nervous about snow.
Yeah.
She came up, hiked the trails, and so they have some commitments keeping them where they will be continue to live in Henderson, Nevada, just there in Las Vegas for the foreseeable future, but they will have a home here. He will work 2 weeks a month here and take on call. He does hands, carpal tunnel, cubital tunnel, which is the elbows, those of you that may have pain that radiates after all other therapies are exhausted and surgeries required. He does those. He does total shoulders. He does knee replacements, hip replacements. So he does all general orthopedics other than back. And so we'll have a complement of a team here of 5 orthopedic specialists, 2 of them being physician assistants, 3 of them being orthopedists. And we're excited about this. There's such a need with our age population. And we'll have more, 3 out of 4 weeks we will be able to take orthopedic, if someone fractures their hip, we won't have to transfer them to the Valley. And that's huge. That's helpful to the hospital, but it really helps the patient to avoid the transfer. But we will not yet. Dr. Manning has stated that he hopes to be able to extend to potentially full-time over the next year. He's closing his private practice in St. George, Utah and Henderson, Nevada. If we can get to where we have Dr. Sepich covering 1 week and Dr. Manning covers 3, to have full-time orthopedic coverage again so that we can avoid transferring patients would be outstanding. So I'm excited about that, as you can tell.
Yes, and wow, it sounds like a great team, and I know kind of juggling with the not being full time and closing the practices, but still seems like for a small town, that's exceptional.
I once managed all 10 of Banner's rural oversaw and managed those hospitals. Of those 10 hospitals, Sterling Regional Medical Center in Sterling, Colorado, where I was once the CEO, is the only location besides Susanville, California, where we have 24/7 orthopedic coverage. It's very expensive to maintain. Payson deserves that. We're working towards that, and so it is unusual, and it is exciting for us. We look for we have MRIs, CAT scans, plain film X-ray. We have the physical therapy services, the rehab. And now we have the pain management services, which I'd like to chat briefly with you about. But then orthopedics, we're really rounding off that service for the benefit of our population, particularly our 7,000 veterans. And those who are over 65 particularly typically have those needs, and you can have that in the convenience of being here at home.
I remember when you had the pain management specialist, we had him on the telephone.
Dr. Latham.
Yes, on the program. And how's that been going?
Thank you for asking. I'm super amazed, surprised by the community response. We have 60 patients waiting to be able to get an appointment. This has overwhelmed the capacity that Advanced Spine and Pain has brought by joining Banner Medical Group in this venture. We are bringing now, Dr. Latham mentioned his physician assistants. We are now fully scheduled with it. We've added their visits. So we have Dr. Latham and Rich and I can't remember the other, it's a female physician assistant. I can't remember, I forgot. Mary Beth. And so Mary Beth and Rich and Dr. Latham, their schedules are full through November. And we have 60 patients waiting. So Advanced Spine and Pain, we're working with them to see how can we bring more days to Payson. There's clearly a need. Here's a story that I'll share without breaching patient confidentiality. I do not know the patient's name, so I can't breach. But in surgeries, in our recent surgery, I won't reveal the day so that in case someone has shared what day they had surgery, a patient who has suffered with severe debilitating chronic pain to the point of not being able to stand upright for years. Spouse had shared with one of our nursing staff how crushing this had been for husband and wife to deal with, and had the procedure, one of the procedures that Dr. Latham, one of the more advanced procedures that Dr. Latham described that he performed at the hospital here recently. And the patient, prior to the procedure, walking about in discomfort in a hunched way, immediately after the procedure, successful procedure that took longer than expected to complete, could stand upright for the first time in years.
Wow.
Pain-free. And so spouse overjoyed. I had not expected a story of that nature, that dramatic of a change. Now that's not always the case, of course, but when it can be the case, comfort of Payson not having to drive, it's very uncomfortable for someone in that situation to drive 90 extra minutes for the procedure and the hassle. So excited to bring this service to Payson. Now we're anxious to grow it until it meets the need. And that may take us a year and a half or more, as we may have to recruit another full-time surgeon for Advanced Spine and Pain to create the capacity. So.
Oh yeah, that's wow. And for that person, for that couple, for that family, I mean, that
That's why Dr.
is
Latham.
life-changing.
It is, and this is, our clinic staff were excited to learn of this story yesterday, because they see patients in the clinic getting staged for surgery. That patient hasn't yet returned for their follow-up,
Mhm.
and so they have it. So it's going to be a miraculous when they see that same patient post-surgically. You know, again, not every outcome is that effective, but most of the patients that Dr. Latham's seeing, there's a facet of the spectrum of treatments that is improving their quality of life, whether that's medication, physical therapy, alternate treatments, but ultimately surgeries can be very successful. Nerve ablation that he talked about, etc. So those are 3 success stories I wanted to share today in our time together. And then 2 others real quick. To those who struggled with scheduling imaging exams, CTs, MRs we talked about, our long legs of the long backlog, the phone call being 30 minutes before someone answered, that has been redressed. We have decentralized scheduling for imaging procedures and respiratory procedures, and now those calls are being answered. The call are often answered within 60 seconds, and you're scheduled for mammograms, for plain film x-rays, etc. You can do walk-ins for plain film x-rays, actually, and you can walk in for an EKG, but any procedure that requires a schedule. We have 4 full-time schedulers housed at the hospital here in Payson.
Wow.
That are answering calls. So thank you for the feedback. I'm so sorry for the several years of frustrating experiences. Give us a try. Second, MRIs, we had filled our MRI capacity, meeting with staffing. As I meet with physicians, I ask what are our disappointments and patients that they'll share with me. And we learned that our wait time for the next available MRI schedule was too long for some of these patients, so they were going to the valley. So we hired a traveler, that's a temporary MRI tech, to test if we could catch up the backlog. That traveler brought his wife in his recent assignment. They're exploring moving here. So we're going to staff another MR tech permanently. That MRI machine will be used 6 days a week on a full-time basis. So if MRI has been a disappointment for you in wait times, we are well on our way to addressing that. So try us again in those areas. So those are some of the other examples. We're trying to improve our services for the betterment of the Rim Country residents, and we appreciate your support as mayor and here at KRIM.
Oh, you're very welcome. And you know, people I think have to understand or realize the challenges that companies have these days, where the situation can change overnight, where you can be fully staffed, a department is wonderful and just humming along, and then you lose the person, 2 people, a few people.
You've never arrived. You've never arrived, and knock on wood, and all the celebrations that I've had, I'm sure we're going to experience an unexpected disappointment in the next 6 months. I'm going to be bemoaning that on the air and telling you we're going to address it.
Yeah.
But it is a challenging time in healthcare. Hospitals closing. There have been 8 hospitals closed this year across the country. You never heard that. 10 years ago, never heard of a closure. We've closed 8 hospitals this year, a hospital a month, and there were 50 that are filing bankruptcies across the country. We're not one of them. We lost money in July. In August, we made money, and so we're in that restabilizing position. And as we meet community need, it should synergize, and we should be able to restore reasonable profitability. 3% operating margin, most companies close on that. That's all we're seeking to create, and we're working towards that, and with community support and the success we're having in recruiting and improving services, I feel confident that we'll be able to sustain that 3% margin eventually. We're not close yet, but I think we will be within a few more years. COVID's still impacting us in a negative way.
Yeah, I'm thankful, and I know many others are thankful to have Banner Payson Medical Center in our community. Like you said, with all of the challenges that are facing healthcare and hospitals, I think that you know, we do have to realize the reality of the world today, and whether it's healthcare, law enforcement, public safety, it's challenging for all in all these areas.
Hardest 3 years of my career, hands down. And I thought, oh, the pandemic's over. now permanently harder. And I don't think we'll ever be the same, the challenges in healthcare that have created with staffing and different things, but we're committed to seeking to be the best that we can be within the constraints we have. And we intend, but now we have the number one, the highest emergency department patient satisfaction in all of Banner by a long stretch.
Wow.
We're very proud of that, and we know we still disappoint, but we never intend to, and we've created processes to try to prevent that. Inpatient satisfaction, we've climbed to the top 3 to 6, and that changes by month. We were number one in both emergency department and inpatient just a month ago, and now we're number one in ER. Well, I don't think we'll be overtaken for a while with the ER. We hope we never do. We want our other hospitals to get better too, so I don't mind if they get better. But on the inpatient side, we're right up there in the elite now, and we weren't 3 years ago. We were in the bottom third, and we're now in the top. Our quality is good. There are errors, and there are in every hospital. And when you do something thousands of times with human bodies that are each different, there can be error, mistake, and oversight. But we're trying to limit that we're trying to learn and become as close to perfect with the zero harm that we can ever get to, and we're doing that well. Our employee turnover has dropped to an all-time low. We have some of the best employee retention in Banner. Wow. It's a miracle. We still have gaps and holes. We have 13 traveling staff. That means they're filling in holes that they don't live here. 2 of them just accepted employment, and they're going to be living in Payson. We're excited about that. That leaves us with 11. We've got that MRI tech that we're hoping, which would move us to 10. And we typically have 6 to 8 before COVID. So we're almost restored there. That will help us financially. And so overall, I'm pleased where we're at. We're further ahead than I thought we could be at this point, but we still have a long ways to go. And those that are thinking of the flaws that we have, yes, we know. Maybe we don't know. Tell me, reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you at any time. And my number at the hospital, 928-471-1200, 471-1200. Jordan will likely answer that. You might get her voicemail. But in the end, I will get back to anyone that calls, or one of our leaders who would be more skilled and more knowledgeable. We know we're fallible. We want to get better. We appreciate your feedback. Thank you for having us today.
Oh, you're so welcome. And speaking of traveling, staff, I was recently at a conference in Tucson talking to the mayor of Page. Over a third of their fire department lives in Phoenix. Page, think about where Page is in Phoenix. A third of their firefighters live in Phoenix. So their big concern is, what happens if there is a large fire that requires, all of the firefighters, and they don't have their firefighters living there because of housing issues, short-term rentals.
Page Hospital, Banner operates the hospital in Page, and a good percentage of the nurses come from Kanab, Utah.
Wow. And
so we're fortunate. We do have staff that live in the valley and drive up. We're grateful. We have some physicians, but the majority of our staff live in Rip Country. And when the snow, inclement weather closes roads, we're blessed. But
yes,
I'd take this rural community to be in healthcare over any in the country. I love this. This is an amazing place. We're excited about what's possible in the future.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for the updates, Hoyt. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for all of your involvement with Keep Payson Clean.
My pleasure.
And
hospital's a sponsor, and we want to be right there with Jesse Berry and over the months and years ahead as we become the cleanest town in America.
Hey, there we go. We can do it. We definitely can do it. I think there are enough people in the community that care and are doers, that are going to get out there and actually do something about it.
Amen.
And not just sit back and
put our muscle where our mouth is. That's often harder than it sounds, but I'm sure trying.
I know, that's instead of just using our mouth.
Amen. I do use my mouth, as you've heard on this program, but I'll try to put my muscle behind it.
No, it is great. Well, thank you again for coming on, and time to get back to the music. But first, we're going to get a quick update from the National Weather Service.
With this morning's game weather forecast,
Why did that work? My team viewer. What is coming up? All right, turn this